picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Welcome back. It's the freaking weekend. Actually, it's Friday afternoon, and that means it's time to sit a spell with the old Aztec dummy as we go through another weekend of modeling work. Today, or this weekend, big doings. I've got the, show you the final colonial ones. I can bring those in real quick. We're going to be doing a lot of work on the Enterprime. I've got a coat of clear on that, so we're going to do the stain weathering, and we're going to start picking out details and getting that done. And that's really all there is to it. Here we are showing you the two colonial ones, and you can really see, well, I don't know how well you can see on the video, but I can tell from being in person that flat finish really does the trick. Here's what I was talking about as far as that Intersun or the Eversun decal not showing up very well. You can see it in the shade, in the shadow, but the yellow on white is not the most legible thing there is in the world. And here is the colonial one. Again, you can see the dull coat has turned it to looking quite nice. There is the logo, and there's the other logo with the luxury liner word underneath it, and you could see, if I can zoom out, how the decal had to suck down over top of that raised panel. And now that those have had a good time to dry, I'm going to go back over them and touch the tiny bits that I want to be the bright silver. So that's something we can do this weekend. Here is the main topic at hand, and that is the two biggest parts of the Enterprime. And I'm going to start working on the final weathering on this, and then get back into painting the red and figuring out whether or not I'm done with this. I think I want to add some shoulder detail right here, some scratch built detail, because I don't like all of this flat surface. So we're going to greebly add that up a bit. And then here are the legs. I hope to get these locked into position today, or not today, but this weekend. Get these finalized and get the legs finalized on the pelvis and on the torso. Well, welcome to Saturday morning. You see the patient on the table for today. This is the Enterprise Transformer. I last night went over the whole body with Comart wash. This Rojas vein flesh. That's a nice green color, but it's a little too green. I think I overshot the green a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a very light gray color, and I'm going to do a very light coat of the light gray color on the green parts that you see to kind of knock them back a little bit. The green's a little stronger in real life than you see on the camera, so I'm going to knock that down a little bit, and then another coat of clear to lock that in, and we'll be able to start doing some other detail work. I want to add some more greeblies to the shoulders, and I want to maybe add something in the inner forearm there, and then we can start repainting that red and getting it a more realistic color, or a more likable color. The red is a little stark. I know it's supposed to be because it's a cartoon, but it's a little too drastic. So I'm going to do that part of it today, and want to get him up on his feet and get these perhaps get these legs locked into position, so that that is the final formation of where the legs are. So let's get on with that. Okay, it's been a good long day of off and on work on this Enterprise Transformer, and I've looked at a couple different things and tried some different stuff as far as dressing up the shoulders and neck area, but I wanted to be careful not to overdo it and get too greebly just for greebly's sake. So I kind of like this piston motif of the overlapping tubes, so I put a couple shoulder blades, I guess those would be shoulder muscles, pistony. These ones are brass, those ones are plastic. But also learned a valuable lesson. Don't drop stuff. I was working on the leg and I dropped it completely, hitting the ground and undoing a lot of work that I had to redo. So repainting the foot on that one, and we'll get to the other foot on the other one at the same time. But I'm going to get these to a point tonight where they are getting their I'm going to put a final gloss coat or a pre-decaled gloss coat on them so that tomorrow I can get a good start early and get some decals on them. Welcome. It's Sunday morning. It's a big day here on the Enterprise Transformer Project. It's Decal Day. Yay! I love Decal Day. Decals are like instant finish. Sometimes if they're handled correctly, they can really add to your ship. And sometimes if they're not handled correctly, they can really detract. So I'm getting to the point on the Enterprise where I need to put decals down so I can see what other color is still needed. I have been working and overworking this finish, and I have been obsessing with putting color into the finish without really thinking about what kind of color the decals are going to add. So let's get those in, and it'll also show by your familiarity with the decal, it will also, when you see how the decal has been changed, to also sell the idea of the transformation process. It might be broken in half and twisted, which will give you an indication that the hull has actually been twisted. So I have two different stages really. The arms, at least the forearms, and the chest and the torso are ready for decals. The legs, because of my little injury last night of dropping one of them, are not. So they still have quite a bit of paint. I'm going to repaint the feet on this. So what I can do is put some decals down and get some sexy, exciting, interesting stuff done and show you that, and then go back and do the mundane, boring nacelle feet stuff, which, since those parts don't touch, I can have one set off drying while I'm doing the other thing. So let me grab the decals and show you where we are. Okay, with most, here's the decal sheet, and like most things on this Revell Enterprise kit, the decals are mostly right. Some of them are iffy. Like, for example, I don't know exactly what they've got planned for those dots. I'll have to go back and check the instructions. Now, the instructions are, and so I know where the decals go on the Enterprise. I've been building Enterprises for 40 years, for heaven's sake. But when I see something that's just blatantly wrong, I have to point it out. Look at those decals on either side of the, or the placements on either side of the impulse spine there. Boy, is that wrong. That's just wrong on the face of it. But it's handy to see where they indicate some of these things are supposed to be going. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. When you see the belly decals go on, you will understand why there's such a difference, because the belly decals will start there and then finish up there because the torso is twisted. That is the top of the shuttle bay, and this is the top of the secondary hull. So you can see that the shuttle bay is actually upside down. And that's because of my particular idea of how this thing would transform. So, along with the registry going on here, and then maybe some of it being covered up by these shuttered saucer pieces, you will get a better idea of what all has transpired to get the transformer to this particular place. So, enough yammering. Let's put down some decals. Technically, I have to give these decals high marks because whether it's apparent to see them or not, there is actually very little carrier film, particularly between the NCC there on the C. You can see where the dullness is, and that's good because I've seen Enterprise kits where this whole Enterprise down to here is all one big decal, and you've got nothing but carrier film in the center there, which is what's going to wrinkle, and it's also what's going to yellow, and it's also what is going to silver. So getting rid of that, minimizing that is the important thing. And so what I've got is a glossy surface here to put my decals on. Going to start with a big old name. It's a superstition of mine. I like going big first. So take that out and put it aside. And we'll start laying down these one by one. Now I hear what the naysayers say. The naysayers say, nay, there was no grid on the saucer. And I agree. There was no engraved grid like this on the saucer. It was pencil lines, but pencil lines that served a very useful purpose. You cannot beat having a grid line when it comes to lining up your decals. There's just no better idea in the world than having some sort of demarcation that helps you figure out where your lettering goes so that it is nice and even. And this is a happy accident. I believe to the, I conform to the Bob Ross school. There are no mistakes, just happy accidents. This is a happy accident. I did not think that this panel was going to land right over top of these panels were going to land right over top of the registries. I honestly thought I was going to have to cut the decal and put some of it up on the up on these other plates, but it worked out just wonderfully. So yay me. It frames us very nicely, and now on we go. Okay, the decaling is going along swimmingly, and here you can see, I think, better what the twist is all about. From the front, this looks like a perfectly normally decaled secondary hull. The side pennants, which and just at the twist, which is also a happenstance of good fortune. And you see the start of the double lines there. But wait, what's this? Well, that's the bottom of the secondary hull. So those would be the decals that you would see on the belly. Here is the stripe, or the double stripes going up from the shuttle bay, and they stop at the twisting point. And I'm going to put some sort of belt over that to further demarcate that twisting point. But then there's the rest of the belly decals. So it looks a bit strange, don't it? And these decals from Revell are very nicely printed. They're going on very well. They're very tough. They have good carrier film on them. It isn't excessive. They're going on quite nicely. But I'm getting to the point where I'm getting on top of myself and putting dry, or trying to put new decals in areas where the other ones aren't quite dry yet. So I am going to put these aside. I'm going to do the ones on the forearms, but put them aside and then come back and fill in the decals that I haven't finished putting on, like all the little tiny numbers that go on the secondary hull. I just don't want to bump the ones that aren't quite set up yet. Okay, I've got the these are probably the easiest ones to put on, these semicircles below the or on the forearms. And you've got the chest piece decals in. You've got the main registry decals in, and the little bit of Solvaset on there to have it hunker down in amongst the panel lines. And then when all this is dry, it will get a gloss coat to seal them all in, and then it'll get a flat coat over that. So all the decaling that I'm going to do probably today has been done, and now it's time to go back and work on these feet. Okay, so I have cleaned up and out of decal mode. I am back into painting mode, and I have removed the pieces or big chunks to the other room so that I don't stray any paint on them. Plus it just cleans up my area and I get better results. So first thing I need to do is to go back through and touch the lightest of this green color. Not necessarily on the foot itself, but on other parts of the leg. And I want to do that and then move to the feet color. Okay, now I have touched up the light green on the leg slash nacelles and the bridge slash beanie. And the next point is to, well, I have to really have to refresh everything. I have to refresh the weathering. I have to do all that. but I don't want to do that on top of the nice green, wet green paint. So now I'm going to concentrate on redoing the gray on the feet. Well, I know you'll be shocked to learn that I've changed my mind. I'm not painting the gray first. I'm going to paint the blue first, because in the long run, the blue is going to be easier to mask than the gray is. So I can paint the blue now, mask it, and then paint the gray. A lot easier than painting the gray and masking it. Okay, this bit is purely off the books. It was an experiment. This was a little kit I picked up at Wonderfest either a year or 2 years ago. And I was cleaning up the other day and stumbled across it and thought it would be a nice little subject for some owl cladding. So while everything else is drying, I had this out and I primed it over the weekend. And now I'm going to try just a little bit of owl cladding on it to see how it goes. Well, that turned out quite nicely. I'm going to let them dry for a while. I've got masks covering the eyes because ultimately I'm going to light it up. It was cast in clear originally. And it turned out quite nicely. I was afraid the chrome was going to make it look too silvery, but with the black underneath it, it does look like a good gunmetal. Interesting diversion. Okay, we're about to wrap up for the weekend. I wanted to take one last look at everything to show you where we are and to show you some couple of neat things that have happened. Got a lot of decals on. Don't have all of them yet. Still have another little short round of them to go. No, not a short round. I have not the little Asian kid from Indiana Jones, but a short round of decals yet to put down. The Solvaset has worked wonders. It is sucking the decals right into those panel lines, and it has all but gotten rid of the carrier film. I am going to, like I said, after this dries, at least overnight, I'll put a clear coat over it. I wanted to show you this because I thought it was particularly neat. There are a lot of raised features there that the decal, which has a metallic finish, has really done an excellent job. Maybe if I can keep it focused, of sucking down in between all of those. Look at that. You can still see a little bit of air bubblage there, but that's the decal sitting over top of the raised detail. Maybe a little bit better on that side. Just a neat job. But the decals are done on this part, except for the wee tiny hull lines. I do have to finish those, so yeah, not quite done yet, but gives you an idea of the twist on the hips and the legs. I have got the feet repainted. Some minor touching up needs to be done, but the feet are mostly done. I didn't really talk about those raised circles there that are supposed to emulate the balls, the big white ball in the back of the nacelle, so I figured I'd put two smaller ones on there, and it gives a little bit of a contrast. But the feet are finally painted, yay. I have to weather them a bit. They're not quite as weathered as the rest of the nacelle / leg, and that's the next thing to do, is to go back and redo some of this weathering, and it'll be done. Let's see, I haven't talked too much about the head. The head is in need of a little bit more weathering, and it'll be done. The pilot I haven't talked much about. He's sitting over here. He's fashioned his uniform to look like a command uniform, so he's wearing the golds, and his helmet is brown and his pants are black. Let me put him in the cockpit. So he's trying to emulate Kirk colors. And then that'll go into the head, and then on top of that I also painted the canopy this weekend. I'm going to do a little bit more with some future on this to clean it up. Some of the clear coat, not the paint, but the clear coat kind of crept around the side there, and it looks almost like a frosted or frozen condensation on the window. So I either will try to get rid of that, or I will try to make it look more uniform. I don't know exactly which yet. But we're down to putting the last bit of details on, and the final construction. And it will be ready for debut in 3 weeks. Oh my goodness. Wonderfest is 3 weeks from today. So I have got to get you finished. I've got to get this finished. I've got to get the rest of the kits that I'm going to take with me cleaned up. So that may be, other than finishing this, that may be the topic of next week's video. Will be getting your kits ready for public inspection. Well, that finishes this weekend. That's right, I got the red cast on me, don't mean to. That finishes this weekend, so until next week, have fun, be safe, build more models.